We're working on 4 big Deodar cedars today, and unfortunately these trees had been stripped out. They'd been lion's tailed, so the long limbs were breaking everywhere. So when we're doing tree decisions, pruning decisions, it's really important to know the species that you're working on and its weaknesses or its strengths. These Deodar cedars, they're not from this area. They come from the Himalayas and high elevations of Afghanistan. This tree has been topped in the past, and all the top growth now is going way wide to one side. So we got to get up there and take a look at that old top cut and see what's going on. So much of the work that we have to do is completely because of what has happened to the tree in the past. Trees get topped, trees get stripped out on the inside, which is what we refer to as lion tailing. And when that happens, the long branches become excessively heavy. And you have to understand the species of tree that we're working in as well. These are the Deodar cedars, as I said, and they are recognized as being very brittle trees. There's a broken limb right there. So that's what caused the client to give us a call in the first place. Now look at this limb. It branches out, it splits off, there it is, there's where it was topped before, and it branches off into 4 different stems that are all elongated, adding an excessive amount of weight to that one limb. I'm frankly surprised it hasn't broken yet. Look at this limb, look at how long it is. And they whip in the wind, and they will oftentimes cause a lot of failures when the winds pick up, but they also have failures during the heat of the summer. This is a tree that is recognized for summer limb drop. And there's a lot of obstacles that we got to be careful. There's a couple of lights, there's a very delicate front porch. The house is there, they've got a tile roof. So I was able to use the bucket on a lot of this work, and I was actually able to get the bucket in tight and close to the house, which helped a lot. But I can't reach the whole top of the tree. So Jorge was in the trees and I was on the outside with a bucket. Now look at this limb. You can see where it's topped off and the side growth just went out crazy off to the right there. That's just this elongated limb, then it doubles. There's another one. Look at that one. See how it was topped off a long time ago, and the side limb became the new top, but it's growing sideways. All these issues are determined by the climber, and I'm always looking for old wounds. Look at these stubs. That tells me that the previous person that worked on this tree, or people, didn't really care what they were doing. They were just going through and making haphazard cuts anywhere without any concern for making proper cuts. When I see stubs everywhere, that's a story in itself. There's where a limb broke off. That's yet another limb. Now, I want you to look at this one. Look at how long this is, and it's starting to bend over, but look at the end weight on this tree, on this branch. It just goes for miles out there, and then it branches off to multiples. So that's exactly what happens when a tree is lion-tailed. Look at that branch. Oh my gosh, the top one snapped off and it's hanging up there. That's right on the verge of breaking. And when we're working in these trees and you have to tie in and you work your way out on some of these limbs, you can actually feel the branches getting ready to break. It's a sense that you have if you understand the weakness of certain trees. I like to show the amount of brush that I take out of the tree. This was about 1/3 of the way through. And if the client comes home and says to me, it doesn't look like you did very much, then I can show them a picture of all the brush on the ground. This is interesting. One side is very dry and the other side is a fresh break, which tells a story. This broke a long time ago and then it broke again. So part of it on the bottom either cracked and broke or a piece of it separated off. I'll look way up at the top there. You can see where that tree was topped off in the past. And this is the next time that we chipped. That was the second grouping of foliage brush. tree has been topped in the past, and all the top growth now is going way wide to one side. So we got to get up there and take a look at that old top cut and see what's going on. So Jorge and I are a two-man team, and ideally a three-person team is generally way better, because then you've got a guy managing the rope, a guy hauling the brush and cleaning up, and it works a little bit more efficiently. But we've learned how to sort of tag team each other. I climb sometimes, he climbs more than I do these days. I'm the one that's in the bucket most of the time. But we seem to work pretty well together, hardly ever argue. And this is the end of the job. That tree on the right there, that one, it was just naturally a little bit thinner tree, but we took end weight all the way around. And you can see where we tipped it back from the house and got a lot of the heavy branches off that he was so afraid of. So much of our work is based upon fear of failure. That's what they look like. They still look pretty good, but you can see all the end weight cuts. You know, we had to make some kind of harsh cuts in some areas to reduce enough weight to keep these branches from breaking all the way up. There we go. I think they're nice trees. They're so much better off than what they were. And it's important to tell the client how often they need to work on these trees. My recommendation for these trees here are about every 3 years or so. So the two of us spent 2 full days on those 4 Deodar cedars, and this is Wednesday of last week, and we have a number of valley oaks to work on this property. It's a big, big property. And unfortunately, there's a lot of dieback. A lot of the limbs are starting to dry out and die back from the ends. So while I'm up here, I'm kind of looking closely to try to figure out what's going on. It's hard to tell, but there are a lot of different diseases now that are attacking our trees. You see that discoloration on the right there? I made that cut, and I can see that it's working its way down into the main part of the stem. That discoloration is some kind of a trunk canker, some sort of a wilt problem. So I cut it just a little bit closer, almost a flush cut, but you can see just that little bit more of a cut almost completely eliminated that discoloration. So did I stop it? I hope so. I can't really tell. But if you see dieback in a limb, it's often important to cut it out as far as you can go. While I was there was a Japanese maple that the gardeners had wired up, and so many of these tight wires were actually causing damage to the tree. Here you can see these wires were actually digging in. So I didn't really see any purpose, so I just took it upon myself to eliminate all of these. Here's where there was actually a piece of hose that was wrapped around, but you can see the discoloration of it. I did some light shaping on it and got it away from the roof. So these 2 trees, that's done. I'm really happy with that one. And let's see, what do we got going on over here? We had 4 citrus trees to prune. Oh, this is a red oak. Is it a northern red oak like I saw in Colorado? It looks kind of like it. It's the leaves are a little bit different. I know we have a lot of trees that are called red oaks. This is an interesting plant. This is some sort of a citrus with sort of early green then yellow fruit. I think it's a lemon of some sort. I'm not too familiar with that one. There's a lemon that's got a lot of ripe fruit on it. Where I live in California, citrus are always easy to obtain. My clients rarely pick their fruit. I say 90% of my clients don't pick much fruit at all. There's a few oranges left up there. I'm always on the lookout for nests. If I ever see an active nest, I leave it. This one was broken, and when I got up there, I could see that it was pretty much an old nest. But it was interesting that it was all held together with mud, and there was a bit of plastic in there. There's the Japanese maple again after I finished. Pretty fall color right now. Had to bring it back from the roof and round it over a bit. And the 4 citrus, we had to work on those. This was another valley oak, Quercus lobata, 2 of them, full of deadwood, full of branches that were dying. Now this one had a big limb that was hanging way over the driveway. Here I had to tip back everything, more than tip back, cut them back moderately hard because they had a real issue with rodents jumping on their roof. There was a couple of big rat's nests up there that they told us had to be removed, so we very gingerly knocked them out with a pole saw. A lot of times I find fleas in rats and squirrels' nests, so I'm always wary of them. There's our brush cart. I swear I have not seen any kind of a brush cart that comes close to being as efficient as this one that we designed so many years ago. So we got yet another Deodar cedar to work on today, and I wanted to show you this because the tree has got a nice little lean to it, and it's way heavy on that side compared to this side, and it's clear why the tree is growing this way. The power company has done quite a number on this tree. So this client over here is afraid this tree is going to fall down, and that's the primary reason why we're here. The very first thing that we had to do is down low right here, these branches were growing up and touching the secondaries, the lower lines right here, and there is no insulation on these lines. So when you have a branch touching a hot wire, then the tree becomes a short circuit to the ground, and you can actually get shocked or electrocuted because the branches are touching the hot wires. So our job today is going to be to lighten it up, make her feel a little bit better, lighten it up over on this side a lot, all the way over, some thinning. The tree is going to look pretty much the same in the outside shaping, but we're going to get a lot of weight off all over. Am I worried about it? Yeah, I don't think so, but in a big wind, you never know what's going to happen. And we got some weather today. So it started to rain, and for about the first hour, the tree remained relatively dry. You can see underneath the tree it's not so bad, but when I was hauling brush, I was getting soaking wet. And we decided to take a break for a bit, and then it poured. It just rained like a mother. It came down so hard. Then it cleared up, just like that. Now I made a decision to leave the high branches that are growing up and over the wires more natural so that it would balance out a little bit on that side. Was that a mistake? I don't know. It felt like the right thing to do.